Hello and welcome everyone to this series on how to create landscapes. There are gonna be several episodes of it because I don't think I can get this all into one tutorial, but I'm gonna show you how to create a landscape like this one you see here in the background. I'm gonna show you how to scatter the grass on the ground plane, create the ground plane first of all, and create a tree like this, unwrap it so you don't have any seams there. We're gonna create these apples and texture them. I'm gonna show you how to create one or two of these flowers and scatter them on the ground plane as well, and also some small puddles. At the end I'm gonna show you how to animate everything, animate the grass, animate the water on the puddle, animate the tree itself. I made a little concept here and I'm just gonna speak you through some of these parts I didn't discuss yet, but as I told you before, we're gonna create a ground plane, and we use the subsurf modifier and the displacement modifier for it to create some bumps here and there. Next we gonna scatter the grass using the hair particle system, and we also gonna texture this grass using material nodes, some different shaders like transparency, translucency, glossiness comes in handy. And after that we texture some objects, as I showed you before, these apples here, or some of the flowers. We're gonna use the B projection plane add-on. I actually found this add-on a week ago and I was pretty amazed about how it can be useful and how easy it is to texture objects now. So after that we're gonna scatter these objects on the ground plane, like flowers, stones and branches, to give a little bit more realism to it. We're gonna create the animated tree, and there's the Sapling Addon. If you've done this before, you might know this add-on. It produces an armature as well, and you can parent the armature like you do it with a character. You select the character, then you select the armature, and then you press Ctrl P to parent them, and then you can choose, for example, with automatic weights. The problem is that sometimes the tree is gonna be really complicated, and so the armature is complicated as well. If you parent it and you choose automatic weights, it could take ages to calculate it. I found that like really complicated trees sometimes didn't work that well, so I searched for another way, and an alternative for this would be to use a simple deform modifier. It's basically baking it. So after we've been through this, I'm going to show you last how to create these puddles and to control them with the displacement modifier, and use the empty to animate it, to animate little waves on it. So we're going to jump into Blender now. First of all, I'm going to activate the screen keys again. Then we're going to add in a plane, which will be our ground plane. I'm going to scale this by 10, and we have to subdivide this plane. So there are two methods. The usual one would be to go into edit mode, pressing W, and down in the specials menu you got a subdivide button. Then you change this number here to, like, let's say 30, and the plane's been subdivided. Another way would be to pressing Ctrl 2 or 3, for example, to add in a subdivision surface modifier. Then you can raise this number, press simple, and apply it. So now we also have a subdivided plane. You might wonder why I applied the modifier. The thing is that we need to draw on it later on onto the plane, and we need the plane to be subdivided to be able to draw on it. You see, if I wouldn't have subdivided it, I could just draw where the vertices are, and there would just be 4 vertices. So yeah, kind of complicated to scatter the grass later on. Anyway, So back into object mode, then I'm gonna press 1 to jump into front view, and I'm gonna bring the camera in here as well. Then I'm going to put the camera up until it aligns with the edge of the surface plane, and I'm going to add in a displacement modifier. I just see I'm still in Blender Renderer. I'm gonna change into Cycles Renderer, and I'm gonna rename this displace modifier to displace rough. This is going to be the displacement for the larger structures, the bigger bombs or dents. As you see, once you create the displace modifier, it also creates a texture. I'm going to rename this as well. And now we have to go to the textures tab down here, and we choose a texture for the displacement. I usually take the clouds ones, and we're gonna bring this value up to 1.5. So you see that you have a nice smooth curvature. The next thing is that we have to lower this strength value to, let's say, 0.3, maybe 0.4, and we have to add in another displacement for the fine structures. So just going to do this quickly. Gonna switch to the displace fine. We also want to be this to be cloud or clouds texture, and this one's gonna be 0.25, should be enough. If you press on smooth, the font shading is being activated, and you don't have these harsh edges anymore, sharp edges. So as you might see, the highest peak of the plane is on the left side of the plane right now, or close to the camera. So we're just going to rotate the plane on the z-axis in 180 degrees, and because we want to add in a background plane later on, we have to bring this edge of the plane at least as high as the horizon of our background plane. Otherwise you won't have the feeling of a wide landscape behind the actual ground plane. We're gonna go into edit mode now, and we'll select the edge loop at the back of the plane, this one. Enable proportional editing, pressing O. Then we're gonna grab this edge and bring it up in the Z direction, and you see this white circle. It indicates the influence of the proportional editing. So this should be okay. Now back into object mode. I'm going to bring the camera down a little bit, and I'm also going to scale the plane so it fits into the view. This should be okay. The next thing is that we have to give our plane a ground material. You can find the texture I'm using under cgtextures.com. I will paste a link of the texture as well down in the comments. So this is going to be a solid mud texture, this one. And if we have a look now, we see basically nothing. The texture isn't applied yet because our plane isn't unwrapped. So we need to go into edit mode, select all the vertices, press U to unwrap, and after that we should see that the texture is being applied to our plane, to our landscape. So the thing is, it's still too big, so we need to open up a new window, and I'm going to open the UV editor in this window here, select the texture. If you go into edit mode, you can see how the vertices are, or how the texture is mapped onto the vertices. and we have to scale this one. But first I'm going to change this into material so we see what we scale, how far we have to scale. So this should be okay. Have a look. Maybe a little bit bigger. Okay. Okay, this should be fine. And for the grass texture, I'm going to open or for the grass material basically, going to open the node editor, because this material is going to be a little bit more complex. And also I'm going to change to layer 2, add in a plane. If you got an older version, you have to change this to experimental to use the hair, like the new hair strand rendering. I'm not sure what the actual or the current version is, but probably in later versions it will be possible to use it in supported mode, and hopefully soon in GPU as well. So we add in a particle system, change the type to hair, and now we should already see our hair strands, right? So what we're going to do first is we add in our grass material, and we're going to texture the strand from bottom to top, I mean in this direction. And for this we're going to use a color ramp. So on a converter color ramp, we put this into our diffuse input, and we're going to add in a hair info node as well. So if you choose this intercept value here and you put it into the factor of the color ramp, the grass is textured from bottom to top, or from the inside to the outside of the strand. So if you have a look, you see that the bottom is black right now and the top is white. And typical grass usually is something like a muddy brown, like a really dark brown at the bottom, and then just going to delete this one because we don't need it. Then we're gonna change this to green, a darker green. I just see this seems way too dark. Okay. And also we have to set the alpha value to use transparency later on. We will just do this right now. We will add in a mix shader and a transparent shader, and the color ramp will drive this factor as well. So if we put the alpha value into the factor of the mix shader, it is indicating how much transparency is used. So if you put the alpha value up here, you'll see that it is using full transparency, which we don't want. It is basically like you put 1 in here and you tell them to use just the transparent shader, but we want the opposite of it, so we need to invert the alpha values we get out of our nodes here. To do this, we go to color and choose the invert, and then we put the alpha inside the invert and let it drive the factor. So if I now change the alpha value to, let's say, 0.9, you see that where this handle is, like at this part of the strand, 10% is going to be transparent and the rest is going to be diffuse. So it now works. Next I'm going to add in a new handle and change the color to a brighter green, more like this one, maybe not too bright, and also change the transparency to 0.9. The next color at the end is going to be some kind of yellow, so the grass looks kind of burned at the top, and also it is way more transparent at the top. There's no reason. I think we can do the fine tuning later on. And just add in another color to give the grass a little bit more variety. Okay, so I think we have to put in a environment texture now, so we see the reflections better. I'm taking one with a nature background of it, and I'm also checking transparent so we can concentrate on our grass. The next thing is to activate the ambient occlusion again, and I'm going to put this to 0.5. So this is the first part of our grass material. The next would be to duplicate this diffuse shader and put in another image. This image is going to be a real grass image, and again I got this texture from CG Textures, and also I'm going to paste the link down in the comments. Just give me a sec. Okay, I'm going to take this one and I'm going to mix these two based on the mix shader by, let's say, 0.3. 0.3 should be okay. I'm just going to organize this quickly here. So, okay. What this texture does is basically it projects the texture from top. So you have some areas that are darker and some areas that are lighter. I will use the texture coordinates of the object, so as the projection node. Just having a look how this is looking. Okay, that kind of takes ages to calculate, but anyway, the next thing would be adding in another mix shader and adding some glossiness to it, because grass usually is a little bit shiny, especially after it rains. I'm gonna change this to 0.05, and grass definitely has to be translucent, so a translucent shader is necessary as well. 0.1. So the light goes inside the object and is being constantly absorbed and reflected at the same time. I mean, the further the light comes, the more it's being absorbed. So it's basically like human skin. If you look at it, you can see a little bit through it, but it's not transparent. Anyway, I think that's it for now. No, we have to put in the actual image into our translucent shader. It just looks better. So I think we're done with our grass right now. Just delete this, erase this, and we can create a particle system on our ground plane now. So same as before, we're going to add a hair particle system. Switching to the cameras to see it better. Check advanced. For the final image, I think I took something about 15,000. I'm just trying it with 12,000 samples right now. Then we have to change this into random. For velocity, we have to lower this value to make the grass even smaller. And a really important thing is the Brownian value down here. It means it is like Brownian movement in cables. It adds some noise to it, so you see that the hair strands have some randomness in their construction. I don't know how to say this in English. Anyway, just bring up the Brownian value, and for material, we didn't put in our material yet, so we have to choose the grass, and this is the second material. Otherwise the grass would have the same color as the ground. So this is our first material, this is the second one, and we'll choose the second one. So he takes the grass. Anyway, then we check Strand Renderer and activate B-spline and turn this to about 5, so we have smoother lines. It's basically the resolution of the curve. Next, we have to add in some children. And I think 100 is a little bit too much for the first render. I tried 25 now. It still can take a lot of time to calculate it, just so you've been warned, but it really gives you nice results at the end. Anyway, I usually clump them with a negative value, which means you put in the roots together. You can see this if I just lower this value to -1. You see the roots are stick together. I take, or in my image I took a value of -0.2, and this shape value here drives the, if it's convex or concave, like if the strand's going from this way, or what's the other way? Yeah, this way. So now I choose this mode. If I go and lower this value, you see that the strands go this way. This is how they should behave. Anyway, I'm gonna bring some variety in as well when it comes to the length, maybe 0.8, and with the threshold you decide, like if you put 1.5 in here, it means half of the grass has a length of 80%. If the other grass is 100%, like let's say 100% is 0.2, and we choose 0.8, it means 80% of this 200, and the other half of the grass, the other 50% of the grass is going to be 100% high. Anyway, the next thing is we have to bring in a little bit of randomness, roughness and randomness. So I'm gonna turn these values up, and maybe let's type in something higher. This is just the end points. It makes the grass looking rougher, and this random value influences the strand itself as well, and not just the ends. So the next important thing is that we turn down the root value. This is the size of the hair at the bottom, and this is the one at the top. We want the grass to be to have a size of 0 at the top, so this is already fine. And I'm going to save this project, and I'm just gonna stop the recording and render it. So this is the image I got out of the render, but I changed a few things before, so I'm gonna show you what I changed to reach the final result. First of all, you have to raise this value at least to 0.02, and this point lamp here, I turned this into a sun, made it a bit more yellow, and 100 is way too high. 2 should be enough. And then you're gonna put it over here and point it at our ground. So this should be okay. Next, sometimes you can get fireflies if you use the environment texture or an environment image texture. To get rid of it, you have a clamp option, and if you set, let's say 1.5, it cuts off the higher values, so you don't get these bright values in the environment image, and you don't. This results in not having fireflies if you just clamp these values. Anyway, sampling. Let's turn this up to, let's say, 40 for the preview, and I just leave it at 50%. So half the image size of an HD image, and you can have a try yourself if you want to. And I think I'm gonna do the tree in the next example, or maybe I will scatter the anyway, I will see. But I hope it helped you, and you get something out of this lesson. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed. See ya.